To call to order this meeting of the Somerset Berkley Regional School Committee at 6:38. Sorry we're a little late. Due notice having been posted. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions may be made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. I'll do a roll call vote of those present. Mr. Fenstermaker?
Here.
Ms. Ferreira?
Here.
Ms. Gagliardi is not here today. Mr. Machado?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien?
Here.
Ms. Solomon?
Here.
And also with us this evening, we have our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Jeffrey Schoonover, our Director of Business and Finance, Mr. Montero, our Director of Curriculum, Ms. Elizabeth Haskell, our Director of Special Education, Ms. Megan Ashton, and of course, as always, our Recording Secretary Extraordinaire, Robin Baccara. At this moment, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. The next regularly scheduled meeting of this committee is on Wednesday, October 19th at 6:30 p.m. right here in the Somerset Berkley Regional High School Library. We have some guests tonight, so we're going to get right into it. The first item on our agenda is recognition of our civic students who did work to change the student parking fee structure. So let's see. How about we call these folks forward? Aiden Pierce. Not here. Chandler Doler is here. Brady Cabral. And Corey Nunnally. Okay. Well, we'll embarrass them at another time. All right. So Chandler and Brady. Right certificate to the right person. So I'll read this first, and then we'll take some pictures. So the Somerset Berkley Regional School Committee would like to award you with a certificate of recognition for excellence in civic engagement as evidenced by the exemplary completion of a student-led civics project on school committee policy regarding student parking fees, grounded in what we call action civics, the process of applying civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions to mobilize change. For demonstrating the ability to analyze complex issues, to consider different points of view, to reason, make logical arguments, and support claims using valid evidence, to engage in civil discourse with those who hold opposing positions, and to demonstrate an understanding of the connections between federal, state, and in this case, local policies, including issues that may impact the student school or community. So we want to thank you for the work that you did, recognize that you absolutely exemplified, I think, what the Department of Education and the legislature had in mind when they mandated that all students participate in this kind of work. And I think on behalf of everyone, we're really proud of you. I think you showed that committees, elected folks, we don't always, not only do we not always recognize the problems, but we also don't always have the right answers or the full answers. And you did. We're really grateful for the work that you did, and we know that it's had a positive impact on your school. So you're great role models, great examples. I don't know if the superintendent wants to add anything.
I think you've said it really well. From the first meeting I had with them and a few other students when they presented their ideas, they were, as you just said in the citation, very thoughtful. They came with a problem and solutions, which is what we always ask for, and you represented the student body extremely well, and I'm very proud of you, as Mrs. Andrews said. And I am, after we finish this, I would love to hear your thoughts on how it's going so far, but I think we'll finish this first, and then you can maybe add a few thoughts. Okay.
So, well, I'm going to come around. They're gonna take a picture. Not of me, of you. Great work.
I'm going to take a picture, so do you want to get in there? So Mr. Schoonover, sure, so you can post it on his Twitter account. Is it the Twitter stuff? Is it still Twitter?
Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for a while. Thank you.
Do you want to get in there as well? And I'll forward it to you. Excellent.
So if you could share with us how you think it's going so far and how it's been received by the students.
It's going pretty well. A lot of kids enjoy how they're getting free passes, and a lot of people are enjoying the sound aspect, but some people aren't. Because so on the first day, got a little messed up with like how the spot was given to each other. So the first few spots they got them too, and then like this, I don't know how many after, but a good amount after them. We're just putting random in different spots around the whole lot. So that was a little odd about it. But
What's going well now?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, I think it's very organized. I don't really see anything going on in the parking lot, but people yelling at each other in the morning because they're in each other's spot. Some kid actually apologized to me the other day for parking on my spot. He wasn't even in my spot, so pretty good. But yeah, it's going good.
Very
I like
good.
the way it's organized.
Excellent. Okay.
Great job. I think you can always tell who's absent a lot, so just stage along. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have more work to you, so next project, we're gonna planning to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here are the list of problems I want you to address.
All right, and then I think we're gonna take a few items out of order because we have some guests and we don't wanna make you wait and go through all of our fun business. So, no, you don't have to choose unless anyone objects, what I'd like to propose we do is move the first item under the budget and financial heading, which is the establishment of the Healthy Rater revolving account. I'd like to move that next, to be followed by the second item, which is the establishment of Cafe and Pope's revolving account. We'll take those next, if that's okay with the committee. Absolutely. All right. So I think first here on the establishment of the Healthy Rater revolving account, Ann Malcolm?
Yep. Do you want me to?
Sure. You, whatever makes you comfortable.
Okay.
You can get with the camera crew over there.
So basically, the Healthy Rater Fund, in 2019, before COVID, we had a wellness fair at the high school with over, I would say, a little over 50 vendors. And my goal was to kind of bring the community together with area businesses. We had we had fitness centers, we had yoga studios, we had massage therapists, we had doctors, blood pressure checks. So I feel like we're trying to do the same thing this year, and we needed an account for it. And with this account, we were thinking about raising these funds, which will be awarded to a graduating senior who is dedicated to personal wellness, embodies a kind and positive character, and represents the core values of a Blue Raider. In addition, with these funds, we hoped that it will help cut some costs with our wellness field trips and with our wellness equipment, especially with the stress management class and kind of working on SEL and all of these things that we were hoping in that direction. And also, I was thinking with these funds, we could also help be a part of, I call it the Unity for Community, which will be a community outreach for those in need. An example of that could be a faculty member going through a tough time with health issues, or maybe a student or a student's parent, and with some of those funds, we could kind of help that family. So, we've been working on the vendors, and right now, as of today, I have 20 vendors. So I'm hoping it's probably going to be a little bigger. So I'm hoping, my goal is for 60. And what's great is with this too, is we have a lot of SB alumni coming in with tables. So basically what's going to happen is the gymnasium, the cafeteria, and classrooms if need be, if we need to use them. We're going to set up all the tables. The vendors will bring their own table, their own setup, their own fabric, and kind of set it up in that way. We will charge admission, and we will charge for vendor tables also. Yeah. So is there any questions for me?
Anyone have questions?
If anybody has any connections, I'm still looking for a few vendors. And I don't know, some of the ones that we have, we're going to have like a CPR table. We're going to have a dentist in talking about, you know, what sugar does to your teeth and things like that. Planet Fitness, one of my former students. We're going to have this Council of Aging, which is another former student that's the president. We're going to have a Swansea Spa. We're going to have a Jiu-Jitsu, which is one of my former students. School store, I'm hoping to get the Boosters Club. Community autism resources, so I'm going to have an inclusion. I have Gnome Surf, I don't know if you guys heard of that. It's all inclusion with a program that happens over the summertime. We're going to have YMCA, Aim to Fit, Sage Lane, another alumni who does headbands, Spear Dance, who was one of my former students, Divine Seva, a personal trainer, Cat Studio, Brandon Magoni, who wrote a book about his epilepsy. He's actually coming back, and he's going to have books to sign again. And he graduated last year. And yeah, so there's a few more that, I mean, I have over 100, so we'll see. I know I'm not going to get all of them, but it's more to, you know, put out there and spread, you know, what our school does. And also, I have a lot of students helping with this too, making programs. They're going to help me with setup, so they'll be getting some community service hours also. So.
Maybe I missed this. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
there a date yet for this?
Yes, it's November 19th. It's a Saturday, and it's from 10 to 2:30. Do you have a question?
Is this gonna all happen? Is it gonna happen this year?
Yeah. And that's another thing. I'm glad you raised your hand because we're going to have a lot of kid events. So this is for children all the way to grandparents, right? We're going to have a bounce house. Actually, the National Guard is coming. I'm hoping to get a rock wall with an obstacle course too, but we'll see. I'm still in the works. We still have a few more months left to prepare, so.
Okay. I'm going to be very embarrassed to say this. I didn't even know you had this a couple of years ago. Whenever I got the link and I actually watched the video that was either on YouTube or something like that, and I saw the bounce house and the student that you mentioned that he was signing his book. I think it's great. I think it's a great opportunity for people to come in and do a little local shopping. My question, how much are the booths and how?
$35.
Yep, and how do people reach you, or is there something, because the reason why is I didn't feel like maybe it wasn't advertised to
Well,
my,
that's a thing
I'm
too.
just wondering how you
Like
would
the
do
first
that.
year doing it, I really didn't think it was going to be that big.
yep,
Kind of like all the events sometimes that I do. So it was kind of like a last minute thing, and yeah, it just got put together.
Yeah, because I feel like I missed something,
Yeah,
so
I have
the very
been-
first thing I did was wrote
Well,
November
that's the thing
19th,
too,
so.
like with Blue Radar Block coming up, I'm trying to get kids to help with social media and putting it out there. Pretty much with all the vendors, I know a lot of people in health and fitness and wellness, so I've just been reaching out to people with email. And so my social media, and yeah, I really would like the kids to help with this year more so because I'm hoping to have more vendors and more people. So, and it gives them like practice to kind of coordinate things too and take responsibility, you know. So.
Yeah, so that would be my thing. And I don't even know if you had already shared something with us prior 2 years ago, but I'm just thinking maybe use the one call.
Yeah, I do post it too on the Somerset Berkley. Like if you go on the wellness page, I have saved the dates for wellness. So all the tournaments, upcoming tournaments, and then the wellness fair, CPR training, things like that. But yeah, the YouTube video, I mean, that was just a short piece. So I met with Tara. She's going to kind of do it up a little more this year. Again, it was the first year doing it. So yeah, and just to connect like with other schools too. I don't want to forget the PE teachers at South and North and the middle school too, because they help out with leading kid activities. So.
Anyone else have any other questions?
I just want to say I love the unity of the community. Is that yours?
Yeah. I just think, you know, we all have to help each other out. You know? So.
Thank you, it sounds fabulous. No other questions or comments? I would entertain a motion to approve the establishment of the Healthy Reader Revolving Fund.
Second floor.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much. And the next item on the agenda is going to be the establishment of Cafe and Hope's revolving account. I think Jennifer Kramer is here to talk about that.
Yes, hi. I actually have 2 students that are on their way right now, and they also wanted to participate. Is it possible to
Sure, we can.
wait just a couple of, the mom just emailed me, she's like, we're on our way.
That's okay.
So is that, I apologize for that.
No, we moved you earlier.
Yeah,
We can-
exactly. She saw the agenda, and that's why I think they thought you
That's
were okay.
perfectly fine.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Um,
Oh, and here they are now.
Oh, okay. Perfect timing.
See how we run this transition program?
Who's that? It's okay, catch your breath.
Yeah, I know, right? Busy today.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Hi, I'm Jen Kramer, and I am in my second year of teaching the transition program here at Somerset Berkley. And as you know, a transition program is designated to teach a variety of independent skills, living skills for students and young adults aged 18 to 22. So the transition program at Somerset Berkley Regional High School, we would like to propose our Raider Cafe, which is a school-based enterprise. And the cafe is actually hands-on classroom. And we will replicate a work environment, and it's instrumental in developing interpersonal skills for our students. So we do have a presentation, a video presentation, but if it's okay with you, the students would like to read. We have been in a training process for the past 3 weeks, and what we are doing is, we are very fortunate. We have a beautiful kitchen in our classroom. So we have been working with the staff, and we have been training on baking, reading recipes, and delivering our products to our staff. So the students would like to actually present and tell you a little bit about what they have been doing. Okay.
Hi, my name is Kitman Jones. I like you working at the Weather Cafe. I am
are you learning to read and follow recipes? Are you learning about money? Mr. Kramer calls me Rock Coffee Queen because I do Rock Coffee orders a lot, working and bring recipes ever paid.
So these are the students' words. I just wrote them down for them.
Good evening, my name is Nicola. I am a student in the tuition room class. I love working in the Reader Cafe. I like to take the orders from teachers into their orders. It makes the teachers happy. I'm learning how to take orders, make change in reading recipes, have fun working in the Reader Cafe.
Hi, my name is Kate. I like working at the cafe because I learned how to make coffee. I love baking and getting better reading recipes. I am getting better with money. I like helping get ready for Friday.
Drew wanted to make sure that you knew he was trying to be here today, but he had a meeting, and he did write one. He wanted to make sure that if he wasn't here, that we read it. Yeah.
My name is Drew. I like to deliver the orders to teachers and Nico, Dad, to help clean up the kitchen while loading the dishwasher and put the clean dishes away. I like to help my friends when we work.
Good job. So part of our cafe is not only are we working on our skills of reading our recipes, creating the recipes, making our menus, but the students also have to do the housekeeping after. We have to load the dishwasher, and thank you so much for our new dishwasher. We love it, don't we? We have to clean the kitchen. We have to put all of our products away, and we also have to take inventory of our products because we have to make sure that we have what we need for the following week. When we go grocery shopping, we make our shopping lists. We compare our prices. Well, yeah, that's we do the bowling. That's community. That's community engagement.
On Tuesdays, apple picking will be over.
So what we're going to do, right? And why are we going apple picking?
Because,
We're going to use it, right? In our products?
yes, there we go.
Okay, so if you are okay, we'd like to show you a quick video. I am very fortunate to work with two individuals in my room this year, Sasha Greenberg, our job coach, and Emily Travis, one of our support personnel who, all I said was I wanted a video. And what they put together was amazing. So, I haven't forgotten you, Hannah, don't worry. So Hannah Prattis is new to our program this year. She's just entered this year. She also goes to BCC, and she's in the culinary program at BCC, as is Kate. So Hannah was actually our narrator for our video. So she did an unbelievable job. So we'll start it.
Raider Cafe.
They need a jingle.
TGIF, am I right? Biggest day for us though. Here we have to put the ice in the cups. We have to get every single cold drink cold. So after that, we even have to start planning our orders, like putting the cards where the orders are, making sure everything's nice and organized. We put it in a nice little party. We are one big happy Vader family. We always get nice, happy, smiling faces. If you don't believe me, here, here's some quotes from the teachers.
Just cup dancing, okay, I know. Okay. So what we are trying to do is, as we said, to replicate a work environment for our students. They need to wear uniform. They have a time that they have to be ready to work at the cafe. They all have an assignment that they have. And so what we want to foster is that when students are ready to leave our transition program, that they will be able to transfer their skills into an actual work environment, which is what our goal is through transition for that independent living. That's our presentation. Any questions?
Mr. Machado.
Well, first, this has been outstanding. This is, like one of the first, I think it was Dr. Grusso's comments, it made her day. It actually made my night, so I appreciate that. I am a little disappointed because I heard carrot cake and there are no samples for us.
Oh, no, there are.
Excellent. There is a perk of being on stage. But honestly, I just think it's a great product. Just looking at it, I think that this is great. I think this is going to prepare you for once your days here at the high school are complete. I think this is great. Anything that we can do, like for instance, uniforms or whatever it is. To me, I'm just looking at it. Whatever we can do for this program, I just think it's outstanding. And I wish I was in this building because I'd be ordering my carrot cake or whatever is on the special. But the app, was that an app that's an actual using app for the staff, or was that something that was just created for the video?
For the menus?
Yep.
Yes, so we put it out over the Google forms, thank you, the Google Docs. And what we do is we set our menus on Fridays. We talk to the students, ask them what they would like. Some of them are like, we'll never get rid of the parfait because that's one of our big sellers. We'll never get rid of like our green tea. Everybody wants green tea. But we're going to be rotating, and so the students are going to be part of that. Part of that menu, if you scroll down, actually gives us graphs of what the popular items are week to week. So we've been looking at those graphs, figuring out, everybody really likes this, let's keep this. But this didn't go over too much, so let's change that. And so the students are part of that. They set the menu, they talk to us, we all work on it together. So then we submit it out we send it to the teachers, and we give them a date to get it back to us, which is usually that Wednesday. Then on Thursdays, we do all of our prep work for it, and then on Fridays, we do our delivery.
That's excellent. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just say a thank you. Jen has been a great addition to the district. She's worked really hard with the program. We worked together through little hurdles and bumps, and Jen always comes back eager. And I'm just warning you, she'll probably come back and ask for a livestock license.
Oh, well, I want chickens. Right? Chickens for our product?
No, for a product.
for goats, Susan's not on the goats, she's getting better about the chickens. And I actually want a greenhouse, so there are a lot of things we want.
And all you guys, I'm so proud of you. Like, what a great presentation. I love seeing you guys work together. Delighted that you're here, so thank you very much.
And they have homemade cookies for you that they have packaged themselves. So, so girls, bring the bag up. Yes, yes, bring the bag on up.
Friday's the best meeting ever.
Right?
You should go around and hand one to each. Take that one. Hand it to the next person. Hand it to the next person. I'm sorry, they're not the carrot ones, but I will make sure that we have those.
I will be putting an order for you today.
Hey, everything's $1.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Pereira.
Thank you very much. Well
That's
done.
the other thing, we started our own Twitter
Well done.
campaign.
Yeah.
So, I didn't. Yes. We almost forgot her parfait. Oh, no, she's our best supporter. Get that parfait.
Thank you very much, ladies. Yummy.
Keep going, girls.
It would be dinner. Yeah, right. Thank you so much.
Great job with your presentation. Thanks so much for coming to visit with us.
I was gonna just comment, I saw this on Twitter, it's gonna make me very hungry. I'm glad we finally figured out what this was all about. Great social media presence already. Also, if anyone is willing to train the Andrews boys on how to unload a dishwasher.
Oh, I have more parents now telling me, I can't believe that they're actually offering to cook dinner and do the dishwashers.
We have a
Come to my
consulting
house.
business or a little side hustle.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Up in front.
Before we take a bite. All right. Well, based on that, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the establishment of the Cafe and Hopes revolving fund.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
These meetings can run long, so these are gonna come in very.
I have work to do in the morning.
Go ahead. So I think we can revert to our original order. So we're back under student teaching and learning. We'll go to item 2, enrollment update.
Okay, thank you. And I put this information in the folder late this afternoon, but you have some printed copies in front of you just in case you didn't have a chance to review it. On one of the documents, it has the student and staffing update, student enrollment and staffing. I gave you some information as of today's enrollment, and just for reference, it was to October 1st of last year. Granted, we still have a couple of school days to go until we really have that October 1 enrollment, which is such a critical enrollment date for us. But I don't expect there to be much change here, maybe a student or something over the next few days. Anyway, you have the enrollment by grade level, including those students in our 12 plus program. Some of the students that we just had are in that group of 14. As of today, we have 1,009 students. Last year on October 1st, we had 1,002. So fairly stable and consistent with last year. You can, if you wanted to compare last year's grade 9 to this year's grade 10 and so on, you can see how the enrollment for a particular grade of students, how it changed from one year to the next. It didn't really change much. Tends to drop by a student or two each year. We do have our largest class is our freshman class with 263. In addition to that, I put our out of district placements, OOD, below. We have 17 students currently in out of district placements. We have 8 students homeschooled for grades 9 through 12. That is the same as last year. And then I just wanted to give you also a school choice breakdown as of today, and then as of, again, October 1st of last year, just to see where we are with that. I'm not sure if there are any particular questions over that, but just wanted to give you that overview of where we are. And fortunately, we are seeing a consistent enrollment compared to last year.
Just a quick question on the school choice.
Yes.
Do we turn anyone away over all the applicants?
So,
I don't know if we're at a cap number, I guess.
so this year, our freshman cap was 15. So we originally had the lottery. We identified, we pulled the 15 names. Well, less than 15 Berkeley students automatically come in. Sibling preferences automatically come. But then after that, we did have the lottery. That's done around June 1st or so. Some of the families choose not to come after they were their name was drawn, and we go back and we ask for additional students, and you can see as of right now we're still 3 under what we were expecting to take on.
Good, thank you.
Question?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mrs. Schoonover.
Yes.
We're still under, so out of the 15 that we opened, how many were filled?
Oh, we have 12.
12, so there are 3 open slots, if any, like newcomers, or do you, once the school year starts, it's closed?
If really they had to apply back at a certain time in
Okay.
May. Now what happens here, we only accept school choice for grade 9, but if there is, say, a current grade 9 student living in either Somerset or Berkley, let's just say when the student is in grade 10, they move to Swansea, for instance, and they request to stay here. Because we were under that original threshold, that's one of the considerations that we can have, since they're already part of our student body. We don't accept students who are new to the school after the freshman year, but that is one of the areas of flexibility, and it does provide us a little bit of flexibility for that particular grade.
That makes sense.
So the staffing? Yeah, so for staffing is, really, just to give you that very quick overview of where we are, we have 5 positions total that we still have vacant. 2 of our paraprofessionals. One is a custodian position, and we actually had that person, we thought hired as of last week and then declined it, so we reposted that today. That's the Tuesday through Saturday second shift position. Very difficult news the past week when our technology integration specialist, who also serves as our content coordinator in our technology and design department, she is resigning as of I think the end of next week or the week after. For her, she accepted a position as the director of technology in another school district, so it's a promotionary position for her. We wish her the very best. She's been a true asset to not just the Somerset Berkley Regional School District, but prior to that for years in Somerset Public Schools. So as Ms. Jen Ashley. So that is now a very sudden vacancy that we have, and we're going to have to figure out how to plug those 2 holes. One being the technology integration specialist and the coordinator for art, design, and engineering. In addition to that, we still have our lead nurse position, which is open. Ms. Ashton and I interviewed a candidate today, so we're hopeful that that will soon be closed. That is a shared position. It's 10% Somerset Berkley, 90% Somerset. But I just wanted to list that as still a vacancy. But other than that, all of our classroom teachers, we have them all. Some of them just as of a week or so ago were still vacant, but right now we're good.
I think we're in a lot better shape than they are.
We are.
Great, thank you. So the next item under new business is bus counts. It's in the drive.
I gave a couple of documents. I don't know. One is really a memo describing some of the information. I'm not sure what you want to, if you want to look at one over the other. If we look at the chart first, I gave the 17 buses for Somerset Berkley, the 14 in Somerset, and the 3 in Berkley. The 3 in Berkley would be 9, 10, and 11. And when you're looking at this chart, we have in Aspen, our student information system, the assigned number of students on each one of those buses. And then 2 days during the, about 2 weeks ago now, September 14th and 15th, in the morning and the afternoon, we counted our students who were riding the bus in the morning and the afternoon, each of those 2 days. And I gave an average, those 4 columns, but the average as well. When you look at this, you'll see some buses are certainly, I think our highest ridership is in Berkley with 29 students. As of for those days, you'll see some numbers that are significantly lower than those. So I gave you 2 columns of information. One is just the average ridership over those 2 days compared to the number of students who are actually assigned to the bus. And the average of all of those is 44%. The bus capacity is 51 students. That's putting two kids per seat. And then in the last row, there's a single seat. So we have a 51 student capacity. So I gave you the percentage there too. So for bus number 1, we have average 17 students, so 17 out of 51, so we're at 1/3 of the actual capacity of the bus. And lastly, just for your references, if you want to see generally within Somerset and Berkley where each of these runs are, just if you're a visual person, you can do that. I just gave you the description there. I don't know. I know Mr. Machado was probably going to be asking what's the return rate. We had about 65% of our parents responded to the survey at the beginning of the year. We asked them to really opt in or opt out, let us know what their plans were for transportation this year, whether they were going to be taking a bus, providing their own transportation, or driving to school. So about 65% of our high school parents, which is probably why you still see a higher number of assigned students versus those who are actually taking it, because I imagine the gap between those two represent mostly the 35% of the parents who did not respond to the survey. So we have to assign them to the bus where they live. I don't know what else. I can take some questions, because I know when we look at this, there are some glaring components here where we can consolidate some bus runs. Before we do that, the last thing I gave was just the dismissal times, for instance, in the afternoon, where the high school ends at 2:05, buses roll out a little after 2:10. those 14 buses in Somerset all go out, and then they all go back to Somerset Middle School by 2:35 for a 2:40 dismissal there. So they've got like a 25-minute window to leave the high school and to get into the middle school. So the only thing I would certainly have to work with Mr. Fisher on this, but it would really require consolidating some runs without, while ensuring that we're not bringing buses back to the middle school after the middle school actually dismisses, because there is such a small window of time that's there. But anyway, I'll take any questions you may have.
I'm actually asking. Go ahead. On the Berkley ones, I see that there's more kids assigned than actually there are seats. I'm sure that probably never happens.
Never happens. These numbers are fairly consistent.
Okay.
It's just, again, we know from history we have 3 buses in Berkeley. The enrollment in Berkeley is very consistent. So even though you see 67 kids on a bus, right, we cannot fit 67. You might get into the mid-30s at some point in the school year.
Mr. Machado?
I know you sent out a survey. I was wondering, what was the, that was one of the things I was going to mention. You know, the Berkeley residents, one of the things that speaking to Berkeley parents, they need that busing, but it's very often that they bring their children into school. I'll just use my family for example. I would say 2 out of the 5 days they do bring them in, and it seems it's very typical for the Berkeley family. So I would never go less than the 3. If anything, I would increase it if it ever was needed, but obviously with this data, it's not needed. Obviously, the 25-minute window is one of the biggest issues that we face because we have to get back to the middle school. But with that being said, the K-8 do have extra buses that are just covering the elementary level.
We have 1 additional bus that comes on for the middle school for 15 runs there, and then 3 additional buses that come on for the elementary.
Okay, so that's why I'm just thinking, so those 3 could be, instead of doing just 1 run, they could do 2 runs.
Right, do a middle school, and then you could have a high school bus that only does high school and elementary.
All right, now, because of the window and returning back to the middle school and all that, all of those other items, my question to you is, how much does each bus cost the region? I'm assuming it's 55, give or take, divided by a third, or is that how we figured it out?
The cost this year per bus, daily, the annual cost per bus is $66,608.
So about 22,000.
So 1/3 of that 22,000.
Okay.
22.
So it is a third. And out of that third, what's our normal reimbursement from the state? I know that changes year to year.
70-75%.
About 75% is the funding piece. It really depends how much money is available after you distribute the money. I think the rule of thumb is they look to fund 75%.
So should we just say 65% for now, just to be on the safe side? I'm just trying to figure out what it actually costs the district for each bus each year. So 22,000.3, let's just say 70%. Times 0.3. So technically, each bus is after our reimbursement, and are we being reimbursed that rate for all of our buses? Because I know after like certain buses, like it has to be over a certain mileage, or we're region, so it's 100%.
It's based on usage, not necessarily mileage.
It's based on usage. Okay, so when you say usage, help me out.
Ridership.
On ridership?
Percent. That's why I was really putting in the percent of the bus capacity, because it's based on that.
Okay, with that being the case, so we're only getting 77%, 70% based on our average of assigned or average of capacity?
Good question. We've asked that question, and it depends on who from DESI you get the answer from.
Fountain State. All right. Because that's extremely, you know, when I look at these numbers and I'm seeing that we are being reimbursed 33% of a actual bus, knowing that we have 3 buses that are not being used, and obviously the the $22,000 out of that $22,000, that's actually just going to be absorbed. It will end up going to the K-8 because the K-8 definitely needs those buses. I understand that, but there are also some times that this district is, you know, looking for funding, and where we could possibly be paying $6,000 plus, mostly plus because of the ridership. So I would actually, if the committee agrees with me, I would just kind of want you to have that conversation with Mr. Fisher just to see if we could reduce some buses and would it cause some issues. So the last thing I want to do is to cause issues going to the middle school as well. But that would just be my opinion. If it was 66%, if they were covering 77% of the total cost, I'd say that's a no-brainer. But I'm a little concerned that that could end up being a lot of money. I would actually like to see a number of what we were reimbursed last year and what we spent, to tell you the truth. That's just my thoughts.
Anyone else have a question or comment?
Okay. So this, Mr. Bashar, members of the committee, I just asked Mr. Taro if we can find the regional, the transportation reimbursement that we received this past year was $269,000.
269.
Yes.
And what was our total expenses for the year?
Hold on one second.
I
But
didn't expect
if
you
you
to
were to
answer that
take the-
quick, but I love it.
Total regular transportation, not including late buses, I want to just talk strictly
Yeah.
to and from school on a normal run, 510,000.
So 510 minus 260, we're looking at $250,000. That's a big number. So I would urge that we have a conversation with Mr. Fisher to see what, and I understand that it's going to be passed down to the region, I mean the K-8, but I'm also looking to reduce that number of buses as well, so that could probably absorb some of that money. So it may not be a net savings for the K-8, but the region would probably be a net savings.
It would definitely be a savings, just to Mr. Schoonover's point. When you reduce your cost, that's a factor of the reimbursement piece. So you're probably looking at cutting that by almost 50% of the reimbursement. It'd probably be about $100,000 next year for reimbursement. So your net is not a dollar for dollar savings from a budgetary standpoint. I'd have to run a little more calculations to see what that would be based on the reimbursement. So if we're receiving 270 at 510,000, and the 510,000 backup is the total transportation cost will be submitted to DESI. So it's the total transportation. So it'd have to
That includes.
special education as
Oh,
well.
all right, so that could be, so it probably isn't $250,000, because a lot of this, would circuit breaker cover any of that?
Not for the special ed transportation piece.
Okay. I think, I'm gonna let you run the numbers. I think that's what's probably the best. Talk to Fisher, run the numbers, see if it makes sense, and then bring it back to us. Because if we're cutting buses and then we're only saving again, see, when I hear percentage, it's based on percentage, I'm thinking that 250 or 260,000 wouldn't change.
No,
Because
that would absolutely decrease.
that would increase as well.
The reimbursement would go down.
Okay, I think you need to do a spreadsheet so we can actually see, so it's not the same thinking.
And I know this might be oversimplifying it, but if you just take the 269,000 divided by our 17 buses, it's about 15,800 per bus. So then that, out of the roughly $22,000 that we're spending on a bus, you're in that 70-some%, low to mid 70 reimbursement rate. So we're paying about, what, $6,000 or $7,000
Okay, so
per
that's,
bus.
yeah, in that case,
After
it
the
doesn't make
reimbursement.
sense, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Right, so that's $7,000.
Yeah, it doesn't make,
There seems like there's one bus in particular that's really low. There are three, but there's one that's really low, so.
yeah.
But it sounds like the committee is feeling like, obviously we can realize a savings, but not at the expense of interfering with the middle school pickup times. We don't want bus drivers to feel pressured to, we want to make sure we're safe in providing the service we need to for the students. And if we're talking about a relatively minuscule amount, then.
Well, and that's how I'm looking at it the same way, because now if it does interfere with the K-8, now the K-8 does have buses, meaning, so when I mentioned that the K-8 does have a bus that we can use, because we have 3 buses that are not being used in the elementary level, in the middle school level, we could use those 3 buses, but if we're not using any one of these buses now, and it's being strictly for the high school only, then instead of being split 3 ways, it's being split halfway, because now it's only being used for the high school. And so for $7,000 a bus, I think we should just say, let's move, maybe look at that one bus, but let's keep we don't want to increase our bus cost, because now it's only being used for 2 districts instead of all 3, the 3 levels instead of just 1.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Spooner and Mr. Tara, dig into that a little bit more for Fisher Bus.
Did I mention I have cookies? Just staring at me.
Okay, I think we can move on then to the next item, which is the annual appointment of the superintendent to the Reed's Collaborative Board of Directors. Info in folder. So I would entertain a motion that Jeffrey Schoonover be appointed to serve as the Somerset Berkley Regional School District's representative on the Board of Directors of Reed's Collaborative in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4E of the Acts of 2012 for the 2022-2023 school year.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The next item on the agenda is the approval of the South Coast Educational Collaborative Capital Reserve Fund. That proposal is also in the folder. Folks have had a chance to take a look at that. For this, I would just, I'll entertain a motion to approve the creation of the South Coast Education Collaborative's Capital Reserve Fund with a balance limit of $3 million for the purpose of accumulating funds for the acquisition, maintenance, and improvement of capital items. Move that motion.
Oh, that's so moved.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Or abstain.
Mr. Fenstermaker abstaining. And then the next item on the agenda is the Mass Association of School Committees, Mass Association of School Superintendents Annual Joint Conference. This conference is November.
It's like the second.
Yeah.
We just did it.
We need to do 2 items for that. One would be the appointment of the voting delegate. I'm going to attend, but partially. So I have a very important Luke Combs concert that I need to go to Friday night.
I'll
Sorry.
take those cookies.
So I'll be there for part of it. I'm not sure who else is planning to attend.
I do plan on attending this year, but I'm thinking about going as a K-8 member, unless one of my K-8 members want to go. But I think if I'm gonna stay out of it for the region, just to allow the regional members to get that opportunity, that those that want to attend.
Well, I will be attending for most of the time.
The entire,
I think so.
well, in that case, then I'd entertain a motion to
But
appoint.
if someone else wants to do it.
Oh, I'm just gonna keep going. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Richard Fenstermaker as the voting delegate at the 2022 MASC-MASS Joint Annual Conference.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for doing it.
just-
Opposed?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Normally, we also appoint a delegate, a delegate just in case, a alternate, just in case if you get
Right, yeah.
tickets to a concert or something. When is the conference is usually on a Saturday, correct?
It runs, I think it runs from,
I think the
Wednesday.
voting, is the voting on a Saturday, so,
Yeah.
all right. If need be, I can be an alternate, but again, I'm gonna be going as the K-8, so if anyone else wants to go, they can be as an alternate instead of I.
The voting's on Saturday, I think it is.
Is that-
Either Thursday or Friday. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Machado as the alternate delegate to the MASS Joint Annual Conference.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Machado. The next item on the agenda is just the consideration of the resolutions for the vote. We'll vote on these at the October 19th meeting. You have, for your information, those resolutions so that you have time to review them in advance of our meeting on the 19th. I think we need to do it. That's just an FYI at this point. Right, the next item under unfinished business, we have the school committee norms and beliefs evaluation. I think we received 6 responses, right, Robin? And in your documents, there's a summary. And just sort of to recap, so this was an exercise that a previous committee had sort of begun, and then it had lay fallow for a little while. So we, at the retreat, brought up the notion, revisited the notion of sort of evaluating revisiting our norms and beliefs to, first of all, see if we wanted to keep these items or revise them in any way. And then we also sort of did a little self-assessment rating for each of the items. So you can see those. I believe, that everyone who participated wanted to keep each of the items. I don't think there were any items that were. There were some minor changes in language that were suggested. There weren't any major deletions in any case. The ratings, there was some variety across some of the measures. I don't know if anyone had any comments, questions, observations.
I'll just say that when I did this the first round, I kind of misunderstood the objective. In the rating schedule, I wasn't necessarily rating based on what we're doing. There's more on how important that might be to you. I don't know if that's maybe skews things a little bit. And the other piece, and there's a lot of notes about revisions and that sort of thing, and some of the stuff is a little wordy before that. But one thing I thought about afterwards is that making sure that this lines up with what's in our mission statement. is a kind of after the fact, I was thinking that, you know, these things would be supporting our mission.
When I looked at this, the assessment and how we ranked them, I ranked them as how well we were doing.
Okay.
That's how I was ranking them. So I'm wondering, should we re-rank these, how we're doing and how important it is? So, and let maybe form a couple of members just to look at them, make sure it aligns with our mission statement and all of that. Because I was gonna ask the chair to appoint a couple of members to look at it and come up with recommendations, how we can improve our ranking, meaning how we're doing on all of these falling under your jurisdiction as a chair. Because I still think we fail at new membership, when we have new members. I think even today, I still think we are doing a poor job. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel about either do we redo it, or do we have enough of information here to allow a couple of members to get together to figure out how we can improve how well we're doing? But I know I ranked it how well we are currently using it. And I don't know if anyone else feels comfortable how they ranked it, if it was just Mr. Fenstermaker or...
I did it wrong.
You did it wrong?
I did it the same way Mr. Fenstermaker.
Okay, so
And
I'm
he
just
said that, I was like,
wondering...
isn't that? And then I went back and read him what
So I'm just
I did as
wondering
to how
if we
important
should
it was.
reassess ourselves before we send it to subcommittee, or that's just because...
Well, I think it's be a lot cleaner doing the subcommittee with a couple of people who just focus on it. And then, I mean, you can either let whoever's on that determine if they feel they need another assessment.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking too about timing, so we're almost into October. We'll have an election in April. We have the budget season coming. So, I'm trying to think about, I think the notion of sending it, either forming a new subcommittee or sending it to
Policy.
I would say policy.
policy or strategic planning, cleaning up some of the language and the edits, and then seeing if it's worth doing another reassessment really soon, or do we want to sort of clean it up and then maybe give ourselves, do a reeval in a couple of months?
This is how I look at it. No one really wrote delete, so I think everything is going to remain. So I think if the policy committee or strategic committee would look at this, make sure it matches, and if they could provide some, how we can be better. Everyone knows which ones we're failing at or doing a poor job at, and just maybe come up with some suggestions how to improve that, you know. So, and this way we don't have to re-look at all of these and fill out the checkboxes again.
Right, I think we, even if we did it a little bit differently, we'd probably still have enough here to kind of move forward. And any other comments, suggestions, questions? Anyone want to make a motion to?
Which committee do you want to give it to?
Is that-
Which committee do you want to give it to? That's the question.
Right, what do you think makes most sense?
I would possibly say the strategic one, in my opinion, because of the mission statement.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
All right, I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second to refer the norms and beliefs to the strategic planning subcommittee for further work and then report back out. All those in favor?
Aye. Who's on that committee? Am I on that committee?
I think you just gave yourself
Before.
Okay. next, we've already taken the next two items under budget and financial. So we'll skip to the third item, which is budget subcommittee update. Two items under that, there's the Somerset Access Television revenue issue, which we'll take up first, and then an update from the maintenance, capital planning, and security sector. So first up, we will talk about the Somerset Access TV revenue issue. Now, Mr. Tara, do you want to start us on?
Sure, I think I'd probably be the best person to start off the process. As we approach the end of the fiscal year, one of the processes we do is we do our reconciliations, and typically we receive a check from the town for the contribution for the SATV shared proceeds coming over to the high school. And I didn't find that the money was transferred. I contacted Mrs. Albanese and said, have you received the deposit yet? Or have you received the check yet? Because I don't see the deposit. And she directed me to the town. I contacted them. They didn't have anything in hand. So I did a little more research and found Lindsay was able to provide the contract that we had with the town of Somerset. That particular contract actually expired in June of 21, June 30th of 21. So, which means we won't be receiving the proceeds in FY22, nor will we be receiving them in FY23. Obviously the transition at the town with the new finance director and the new town administrator, and myself not realizing that there was a sunset provision within that agreement. We found the contract, we found the determination piece. Subsequent to that, we then followed up with the conversation with Mr. Gallagher, at that time was the acting town administrator, and met to talk about the best process to resolve the budget gap within FY22, and or also looking at what that means FY23. After some discussion, it was thought that the best would be to not for the ask for the additional money given the funding requirements that the K was looking for the middle school, and that the town also had a surplus. This Somerset Berkley Regional account did have a surplus ending FY22, at least the preliminary numbers show that. That's not changing. So we're at this point where we have asked for some additional money at the special town meeting coming up. We felt that that probably would be in the best interest of all parties, because if you ask money, only going to give it back with the redistribution of excess reserves and the excess and deficiencies. So we're at this point where we have a budget gap now in FY23, and what do we do for that? We felt that it probably would be hold right now until we see what FY23 looks like. It's too early in the year. If we did, then I think that's something that the school committee could decide if they want to pursue at the end of FY23. If for some reason we had excess costs associated with special education or whatever, more transportation, whatever those costs are, utilities costs, as we're seeing utility costs going up as well. So we figured we could probably ask for that later on in FY23 under the regular town meeting, the annual town meeting, to close that budget gap that we didn't receive. So that's really kind of a very quick overview of where we're at right now and the direction that we thought would be best for everybody. So this is sort of what I'm showing this thing.
No.
I would just add to so I'm not a numbers person, so I put this in plain language. So the budget subcommittee met 2 weeks ago. So look at this. So essentially in FY22, if you look at the assessment sheet, right, it's not so much of the budget is the budget, right? But when we figured out Somerset's assessment, $80,400 sort of comes out of that. That's designated as the Somerset Access revenue. And what basically happened is that didn't get paid for whatever reason. So that didn't get paid in 22. So the options were, well, you go back to Somerset and say, you owe the region $80,400. But when we're looking at our numbers and we have a surplus of 400,
About $500,000.
between $400,000 and $500,000, that just seems foolish. And we know too that there are significant, things happening in Somerset K-8 and other issues in town as well. I read all of George's articles. So even though I'm a Berkley person, the water, the middle school building project, SROs, there are a lot of needs. So the recommendation of the budget subcommittee was to not put an article or suggest an article go through a special town meeting to recoup the $80,400. Rather, the recommendation would be to have the capital improvement planning committee look at some needs in terms of, along with Mr. Town, Mr. Schoonover, how we might use some of that surplus, whether it's OPEB, capital projects, whatever. And then figure out how much of that would be used, and then sort of tier 2 would be, if there's additional funds left over, return to town, for 22. But we also, as Mr. Tower pointed out, we also have the issue for 23, because this wasn't uncovered until that assessment had already been voted on at both town meetings. I think the one issue for Berkley is, Berkley paid its full assessment, and Somerset, through no fault of, it was just no fault of anyone, Somerset did not. So, if you look at the percentage of that, I think, it's like 0.073%, something like that. It's less than 1% of what, the difference between what should have been assessed and what was received. The equivalent to that, and if you apply that to Berkeley's assessment, you're talking under $30,000. If you think about it. Stop me if I say something wrong.
No, you're good.
So we have between $400,000 and $500,000 extra surplus for a variety of reasons. We're certainly not going to go back to our recommendation unless the committee feels otherwise. Would be not to ask for $80,400, but to essentially, I don't know if this is the right word, write it off because we have an excess. Perhaps this would require a vote, but we can talk about that. Perhaps make that good with the town of Berkley, reduce their assessment or refund it the equivalent percentage, and that still leaves surplus for us to, as a committee, decide, how to best allocate that.
What you just said at the end that was going to be my recommendation, is basically for 22, use the fund, actually reduce the surplus, because it obviously isn't a surplus, that full amount. But whatever that percentage would be for Berkeley, give the town of Berkeley a credit when we are looking at our F24 budget. That whatever that amount would be for last year and this year, give that amount as a one-time credit when we do the assessment, because we technically either owe that money back to Berkeley or we have to give them that credit. That credit doesn't belong to the town of Somerset. It belongs to Berkeley. So I feel like either we have to cut them a check as well for FY22, and then again in FY23 if we don't go back to the town and get if we don't need any monies. But that would be the solution for this particular year, is to give a one-time credit if possible with our authority, and if we even have that authority. And the second and more important, during FY24, how do we get a new contract written? Because obviously if this is something that's gone forever, then we need to eliminate it from our assessment as well. So that would be my recommendation.
I can answer that last part first. The town of Somerset is not looking to engage in another contract, entertain another. So they would rather just keep all of the money that they receive from Comcast, apply to SATV, and no longer have the $80,400 credit on the assessment, just have them get the the true assessment for Somerset. Which I think probably just makes it easier in the end
Okay.
anyway.
So that takes care of that one,
So
and
that
how do we
would be
address?
FY '24.
That would be an FY '24, correct?
So how do we address 23 and 22? Is the one-time credit allowed? Are we allowed to do something like that?
Well, I think we are allowed. I think that in the past, I think we probably have done that. I mean, it's easy enough to say, from my calculations, based on a $500,000 surplus, it would be $21,000, just a little over 21,592. I would say to keep it clean, you kind of, once the audit's done and we know what the true surplus is, you calculate what that refund is back to Berkley. We could send that amount and close out 22 and we're done, and then what we're focused on is FY '23.
Okay.
And then that's what we would focus on, if that's something that the school committee thinks that they would want to move forward with that one. Or if not, hold it, make through the budget subcommittee in the capital planning, take those additional $20,000 and reinvest in the buildings, because there are capital needs that have to be done. So it's a balance of how the school committee feels comfortable handling it. Because if we give it back to the town of Berkley, then they may, I don't know if they have excess E&D, then they have to go to the annual town meeting and redistribute their excess E&D as well, through free cash. So I want to cause complications for the town of Berkeley.
Yeah, do we ask Berkeley first? Is that a question, like reach out to how they would prefer it, or?
I think there's more conversations that needs to be
Yeah.
made, and then,
If you want, we can contact the town administrator and have that conversation with her to see what she thinks would be the
It's
next.
not Heather
We
anymore.
don't have.
We do, we have an intern. It's
Oh,
not
I
Heather
didn't
anymore.
realize that, okay.
Yeah, it's
We have a
now
new
Kevin Partridge.
Okay.
He's intern. But, yeah. Yeah, I would say reach out to the TA in Berkeley and ask them what their preference is.
and another person I would probably recommend to reach out because I don't know how experienced the interim, is it a he?
Yes.
Is he from a district, was he originally a TA from another district? So you may wanna see if Dean Larrabee could be on, because he obviously knows our assessment well enough. But I would also include our administrator in that call, just to bounce up ideas. Because I hate the idea of losing that 20,000 from our capital expenses, but still that 20,000 doesn't belong to the town of Somerset. That is Berkeley's assessment, just like when we do our special ed program and all of that. So we kind of have to think that, or now thinking outside the box, when we assess our students for special needs in that assessment program, and a kid, let's just say, comes back in district and now we're saving money, do we revamp that whole budget also? Because if we don't, then obviously the town of Berkeley has made up that money as well. So I don't know how sharp pencil we want to be, because it could open a Pandora's box for all the other things where these fees are all Berkeley's, these fees are all Somerset's, and so I think it needs a little bit more communication and examples why we don't want to go into that detail once we have the budget completed. So, but I know I didn't give you an answer, or a solution, but it may be more discussion.
I look at the 20,000 as just an estimate until the audit's complete and we know what everything looks like. So we're using that for just discussion purposes. I look at the 20,000 as more of creating equity amongst both communities and giving them their fair share. If Somerset didn't pay the 80,000, here's 20,000 to make it equitable. That's really what it is. It's not truly a distribution of excess and deficiencies. We'd have to have that conversation a little bit later on what we want to do for the excess deficiency piece, which Somerset already knows that at least the new town administrator may not realize that they already know they didn't make the $80,000 contribution, so it's more of creating an equity piece than anything. Then there's the E&D distribution piece in excess of the 5% that we'd have to look at to go into the capital and reinvest into the building. building requirements.
I may oversimplify this, but to me, I look at it as 80,400 is whatever percent of the base operating assessment for Somerset. It's less than 0.073, right? I think. My math is right. So I would look at that as, you know, they paid that much less than they were assessed. So if you just apply that same percentage to Berkeley's base operating assessment, I think my number is a little higher than yours, Mr. Chair. But we can.
Well, I think that,
Yeah, it's a placeholder. It's a placeholder. But I think that the idea of equity, right? So, I mean, Berkeley didn't pay extra. Berkeley paid what it was assessed. So I don't want it to, you know, you didn't. There was no mistake in the assessment. They, you know, they paid the full assessment. The issue is just in terms of equity. Essentially, if Somerset's getting a small, tiny little discount for FY22, you know, essentially giving that same percentage to Berkeley. Is it the wishes of the committee that we sort of clean up FY22 first? I think that was the recommendation of the budget subcommittee. And we can have Mr. Tara, Mr. Schoonover, the town administrators, we're happy to, about the best way to do that, however we're allowed to do that, and also, you know, what would be in the best interest of Berkeley in terms of receiving that, clean up FY22. FY23, the budget subcommittee sort of recommended that we keep an eye on it, but we hold to see, because we have no, you know, right now the budget's in good shape, and hopefully it stays that way. We don't know what it's going to look like in June 30th. We can make a decision then. Would we do a similar process, or, you know, we're not forfeiting the right to go back to Somerset for that 80,400 for FY23 if we needed to. But if we don't need to, you know, we don't need to.
I think being proactive is good work, too. Good work. Identify it, coming clean, vision like that. It's good work.
And I would only add that I think the surplus, and maybe this has been said at a previous meeting, but I think it bears repeating, was a, you know, a combination of factors, and it wasn't bad budgeting. It was a combination of additional federal revenue being available to us after the budget was approved, after the towns voted on, you know, approved the assessment, and that's a good thing. It was also a product of not filling some positions, which might be good for the bottom line, but actually, you know, isn't great for our you know, staff and our kids. So we wish that actually weren't the case. We wish that we've done a great job this year filling positions. There's still a few openings, but that was one of the byproducts. And there are a few other changes in revenue that were higher than we thought, and some expenses that came in lower than we thought. But it wasn't sort of, let's just build a big fat budget and now we have $500,000. I want to be clear that that's not why, this is a good problem to have, but that's not why we have this problem. It was actually very careful budgeting. Mr. Carroll and the department heads done a great job. So I just want to put that out there. But obviously if there's excess, we will, you know, I think, that brings us sort of to the next point, which is the maintenance, capital planning, security subcommittee. We know that we will be facing some, you know, significant expenses, and we want to make sure that we're planning for that strategically. It's weird to give money back and then go ask for more. So we want to make sure that we're thoughtful about this. So is everyone okay with moving on to that next item? Is the fence or makeup?
Okay, the Maintenance, Capital Planning, and Security Subcommittee has not met yet. Our first meeting is going to be just in advance of the October meeting of this committee. And one of the things we're going to be looking at is the intent of that subcommittee is to kind of lay out a capital plan for what we know we'll need over time, and also ensuring that we have a good procedures in place to maintain the facilities that we have in the best possible state they can be. And I think the next piece that was talked about a little bit in the budget subcommittee looking at where we have an excess this year. We don't want to use that as money that would go towards recurring expenses, but maybe items that are one-time items that need to be, need to be worked on, identified, and solved. So there's a few things there. Some of them are facility related. We've got some issues with the drainage in the fields and the wall along the side there that need to be addressed. So I think at that subcommittee meeting, we'll be talking about those things and trying to prioritize what we can do with the excess funding that we have that are, again, not reoccurring, so we don't spend the money this and then be short next year. So that's kind of in a nutshell where we are. Welcome any questions or suggestions.
I was on the budget subcommittee with you guys, so I know it's going to, now will that come back to this budget subcommittee, or does it come back to the full committee to vote on where the money goes to? Because I know you guys are going to get together to prioritize the items that
Correct.
Mr. Tara gave us. Does that then go back to the budget subcommittee for their suggestion and then come to the
No, I think,
full committee? That's just
I
wondering.
think that'll come right to this.
It will come up.
So the budget subcommittee is essentially recommending, sort of recommending that we look at these, okay, they're saying, okay, this is the budget, and this is the money that's available for whatever you prioritize it to do. And then we'll come back to the full committee for review and vote or change, whatever it might be.
Right, because those are the surplus,
Mhm,
surplus
yeah.
funds that can just come back to the committee. Anything else on that? Okay, policy updates. So, you want us to take a minute?
No, go ahead.
So policy subcommittee update.
You have a chair.
She's the chair.
She voted me that quick, too. Yes, we met, we assigned chair for both boards. We went through and agreed with the proposed changes that were, the edits that were on, all of the ones that we were assigned to take a look at for 2022 updates. We also had a discussion about the civility policy that we had talked about here as a region, and said let's throw it over to the policy subcommittee to see what the thoughts were. We collectively thought that we didn't feel there was a need to bring that forward, only because a couple of reasons, but mainly we looked and saw that it's pretty much outlined. The things that were in there outlined in a different policy that we already have in place, and the ability to actually enforce it, we felt would be a concern. So our recommendation would be that we just continue with what we have, and we don't implement that policy this time. Sure.
Okay, so I think we have a couple of things here. First, we have a second reading on the social media policy IJNDD. So I would entertain a motion to adopt on second reading policy IJNDD, social media.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then we have several policies for these are first readings, right?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Several for first reading. I suggest that, so we have A through H. I suggest that we pull out B because there were some changes. So I would entertain a motion to accept on first reading the following policies as amended. A, non-discrimination including harassment and retaliation, AC and ACR. C, equal employment opportunity, GBA. D, professional staff hiring, GCF. E, equal education opportunities, policy JB. Item F, school choice, which is JBFF. Item G, student discipline, policy JIC. And lastly, Item H, student dress, which is JICK.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
For item B, public participation at school committee meetings, which is policy BEDH. You'll see that the policy subcommittee made an edit to remove the first bullet, first numbered item. That occurred after the first reading was approved on our meeting of August 25th. So I would suggest that we consider this as a second reading with the amendment unless there's any objection to that. And so I would entertain a motion to accept second reading the policy, public participation at school committee meetings, BEDH as amended. Motion and second, discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, we have OPEB subcommittee update.
Well, it's, I guess, I didn't know it was me, so the chair is not here. So, we have, the district had gained acceptance to the State Retirement Benefits Trust Fund as of December 8, 2022. And my very short story, I can tell you that this is a tremendous organization for us to be attached to, and it's with a lot of other communities. And we had another manager of our money, so now to this point, it really has had very low return on the money. So now we're a combination of, we've got our commitment to the OPEB and finance and putting money away for OPEB, and now we're going to be partnering up with a group that can really help us get better margins on the interest on the money we're putting. So it's kind of a big deal, but I'm just doing it.
And I think it's unusual for a district our size to
Yeah,
be accepted.
yeah.
Is that right?
Our size and not only our size, but the fact that our funds are so low, if you will, where we are. We were addressing that.
We'll take good news. Thank you, Mr. Foster. Okay, other matters of information, topics not anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. How about Somerset and Berkley pre-K to 8 updates? Berkley, want to go first?
Thanks. Sure. Just a couple things. Our staff, all of our staff, including our custodians, administrative assistants, et cetera, completed an online course for our ALIS training. Their next step is to work with the Berkley Police Department. ALIS training is the lockdown, intruder lockdown training. So they're looking forward to doing in-person training with our Berkley Police and Fire. We've partnered with the Bristol County Sheriff's Department to have a comfort animal, dog, it's a dog, come in to both of our schools. The dog's name was Hunter. Not Hunter, but Hunter. So we look forward to that program and future visits with a comfort dog in both of our schools. That's all I got.
Good timing. In our last meeting, the safety task force presented their recommendation. The Chief Costas requested that we do an assessment in our schools. Will the high school be included?
Yes.
Good. So we did place a town article to fund this assessment. Hopefully the town will approve it. Also, we had a discussion about SROs, as you probably all read in the Sentinel. We are requesting 3, but the chief did recommend 1, based on the need, because currently our SRO is every building besides here, obviously, because we have our own. But that will also be brought before our townspeople at the October 17th meeting. We did have our building inspection reports. And let's see, anything else? The articles, we did pass the policy, I believe it was the social media policy. And then also we had an update with our transportation, and we're looking for some more counts before we make any recommendation. And that was about it that I had.
Thank you. Action items for future meeting. I think tonight we discussed bus transportation. Let's just go over. Looked like you were about to say something.
Continue. Thank you. I was just gonna reference what we talked about earlier.
Bus transportation, also the Berkley assessment issue for that. The capital subcommittee will meet, scheduled to meet right before the October 19th meeting. The rededication of the track. So that was raised at a previous meeting about scheduling the rededication of the track. As just went over, and Mr. Francis reached out, and we're sort of awaiting word back on timing for that with the family would prefer.
We are tentatively looking at October 21st, which is currently the last scheduled home football game of the season. We probably will have another home football game after that, but that's in the playoff system, and you don't know who you're playing or where on a week-to-week basis. So we're looking at that date as maybe either a pregame or halftime, probably pregame dedication. So if you want to mark that down, and I can confirm once I know from Mr. McDonald and Mr. Francis.
Save the date 10/21. Does anyone have any other items?
Only if, as an unfinished business, only if Mr. Taro has time, just some more information on the user fees, but only if he has time. That's not something that is a hot item for this minute, so.
Almost there, kids. The next item is the consent agenda. So we have two items. So the two items are the acceptance of donation of 24 student suture sets from the PC Institute. Those are valued at $238.80. And also there's approval of minutes of prior meetings. This would be for the open session of August 25th, 2002. Does any members of the committee wish to remove any of those items and discuss them individually?
If you could do it individually, because I have to abstain out of one.
Happy to do so. Okay, so first I would move to accept the donation of the 24 student suture sets from PC Institute valued at $238.80.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
And one abstention.
And that's Mr. Machado abstained. And next, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the open session of August 25th, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any public input at this time? Well, with that then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Look at Robin's timing.